And we're talking John Crimber, we're talking Clay Guyton, we're talking Dalton Castle, Jose Vitor, Sage Kimzey.
Clay Guyton, he's on another level.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to a PBR recap here on US Cowboy, wrapping up everything that happened in Sacramento at the Golden One Center over 3 days. Our 7th UTB event of the season. And we're talking John Crimber, we're talking Clay Guyton, we're talking Dalton Castle, Jose Vitor, Sage Kimzey. That is the broad overview of who we are going to get into today in this recap. So let's get started. The Phenom, John Crimber, getting the win here in Sacramento. His first win, actually, since the fall of 2024 in St. Louis. So it had been a long time, believe it or not, for the two-time PBR team's MVP to get a UTB win. And he ends up 0.15 points better than his good friend Clay Guyton. 351.85 for Crimber, 351.70 for Clay Guyton. They are the top two, the only guys to go 4 for 4 in California's capital city. And so, diving into what Crimber did. First of all, entering the weekend, John Crimber was just 6 of 14 on the year. He was very much in danger of falling out of the top 10 in the Unleash the Beast standings. Instead, he is now number 3 in those UTB standings, behind only guys we've already mentioned in that intro, Dalton Castle and Clay Guyton. And John Crimber looked like vintage John Crimber in a lot of different ways throughout. The first one being right away in round 1. Got things started on the right foot. He rode Creedmoor Precision for 87-some points. Most critically, he was opening up 2 seconds into that bull. He was getting his money chops in for more than half of that ride. With all of that, that ends up being an 87.50 point score. But most critically, this may have even won him the bull riding looking back on it. 3.8 points rider over bull score. And we talked about it. The margin was less than 2/10. So if he is 3.6 points over that bull, he does not win that event. He said afterward, went over to Marco Rizzo's house. They were listening to Bad Company. They were riding bulls. They were watching Jim Sharp highlights, just having a grand old time. And he had the usual cast of characters throughout on the back of the chutes for him in Clay Guyton and Marco Rizzo. And things got a little hairier for John Crimber. He rides his round 2 bull for 88.40 points. Then we get to round 3, 87.30 points on Hot Sauce. This was a different story than his ride on Creedmoor Precision, because in that round 1 ride, he was in control the entire way. There was no chance he was getting bucked off that thing. This ride, he recovered multiple times. It looked like Hot Sauce had him at about 6 seconds. Instead, he ends up with 87.3 points, and then he gets Tigger, a bull that he's been 90 points on in the short round with the second pick behind Dalton Castle in that championship round. And that bull just blew up out of the chute, really jumped, kind of stacked up in one place. John ends up landing on his feet, taking a lap around the shark cage, throws the helmet, tapping Cody Webster on the chest. It was just everything you want out of a John Crimber ride, out of an event winner, because he set up Dalton Castle to potentially walk things off. Dalton Castle would get bucked off Oyster Creek Brawler in 3.78 seconds on the last guy out, ultimately giving John Crimber the win. The win, and over 4 nights, 163 event points. Again, 351.85 on aggregate. Collects 163 event points. His first win of 2025, his 4th of his career, his first since St. Louis a year ago. We touched on it. His good friend, Clay Guyton, rides his first 2, 87.3 and 87.00. And then he gets Dirty Honey as one of the last guys out in round 3. And this is one that on the broadcast, Cooper Davis circled, said, I'm excited for this one. I'm excited to see what happens here. I think he's got a really good chance to ride this bull for a lot of points. He does 87.65 points. He was 87 or better on all 4 of his rides because in order to get within 0.15 points of John Crimber and finish with 351.70 across his 4 bulls, he was 89 3/4 on American Made in the championship round. And he made it look pretty easy for a nearly 90-point bull. He sat straight up the entire time. Bull had a little bit of weird timing out of the chute. He picked up the timing right away, and he was just as vertical as can be up on the front of that bull. A really, really terrific ride. And now, back-to-back weeks, Clay Guyton has finished in second place. He is 6 for his last 7 bulls. A breakout year for him. It continues because he leads his good buddy John Crimber by 38.5 points in those standings. He is only 31.5 points behind Dalton Castle, who has 422 aggregate points or event points on the year. Clay Guyton, by the way, we mentioned 6 for his last 7 before we move on. 6 for his last 7, 13 of 20, averaging 87.58 points. That is the second most of anyone in the top 10 behind Jess Lockwood. And so we go on to Dalton Castle, who was 3rd in this event, who entered 3 for 3. He had that number 1 pick in the draft, like we mentioned. He took Oyster Creek Brawler, and he, again, was awesome the entire way through. He had a ride on Sour Patch early on where he got into a little bit of trouble in his first round ride there, but looked really, really good. Excuse me, that was his second round ride. So he's 84.55 points on Wild Mustard. Let me back up there. 90.55 on round 2 on Sour Patch. Really recovered well. He was on the back of that bull for the first 4 or 5 seconds and just kept working to the front. It was incredible effort from Dalton Castle, who admitted that he may have missed some opportunities on some bulls he could have ridden that ultimately cost him the world title a year ago. This was one he paid off. A bull that he very easily could have bucked off. A bull that he very easily could have not worked his way back to the front and ended up at 86 or 87 points. Instead, 90.55 points. And Craig Hummer afterward renamed him Dr. 90 instead of Mr. 90-point ride, giving him a PhD in riding those bulls for 90 points. And then he had Walk Hard, a little bit of a different trip there. Walk Hard exploded out of the chute, 88.40. He did a great job picking up that bull right away. And he got that because of a chaotic first ride on Kiowa Havoc. 7.96 seconds. They were joking on the broadcast. He was bronc riding for the last 2 or 3 seconds, barely does not make the whistle, gets the re-ride, pays it off with 88.40 points, and again, takes Oyster Creek Brawler, bucks off. Bull score from Oyster Creek Brawler, 45.35, the highest of the weekend, and still, he's 3 for 4, and Dalton Castle just continues to do what he does as he leads those UTB standings, 13 for 19, riding 68.4% for an average score of 87.02. So those are your top 3. Some other things to note: another short round appearance for Court McFadden. He goes 3 for 4. Jose Vitor Leme started 2 for 2, won round 1. And we were really thinking, you could feel it, that Jose might be fully back because he started this season 4 for 13. And he goes out, or he's 4 for 13 on the year, So started the season just 2 for 10. Then he rides 2 in a row, but gets injured in round 3. Firefight just blasted him out of the chute. An uncharacteristic out from Jose Vitor Leme, bucking off in 2.5 seconds or so. So he ends up doctoring out of that championship round and missing a really, really big opportunity. So he remains number 29 in those UTB standings. And the last thing, Sage Kimsey, another top 10. He sits number 4 in the world behind Castle, Guyton, and Crimber. He's 12 for 19 on the year and just continues to ride pretty much everything that they put under him. He has been top 10 3 of the last 4 weeks. Obviously, that started in New York City when he went 4 for 4, made 2 90-point rides, was 92.05 in the short round there. But the same deal with Sage Kimzey, kind of like we saw with Dalton Castle on his round 2 ride on Sour Patch, to really work his way back to the front. Sage Kimzey gets bucked off Schlitterbahn in 2.98 seconds. He gets a re-ride. He's 86.8 points on his re-ride. But he had to recover 3 or 4 times on that re-ride. His feet were almost coming over the top of that bull. And that would have bucked off 85, 90% of the guys here. But instead, that gets Sage Kimzey into the short round. And granted, he bucks off in about 2 seconds in that championship round. But still, 3 short rounds in the last 4 weeks. 3 top 10 appearances, and most critically, 284 of his 319 event points on the year have come in just the last 4 weeks. So Sage Kimzey really riding well at opportune times and just looks to be one of the most consistent across the board in terms of riding percentage, in terms of being able to recover, in terms of being able to handle all types of bulls. I am very, no pun intended, bullish on Sage Kimzey moving forward for the rest of the season, especially when you get to a World Finals, when you're going to need to ride 5, 6, 7, 8 bulls to have a chance. We didn't really see it from Sage last year. I think we've got a good opportunity to see it this year, but just a really good top 4 or 5 in the world right now. I mean, you have John Crimber, Clay Guyton, Dalton Castle. You have Sage Kimzey in the mix. You have Jess Lockwood up there. I mean, it's a really, really good group of bull riders right now. And now we're 7 events of 18 done. So in 2 weeks by Valentine's Day, we will already be halfway through the UTB season. And so, again, we are kind of setting the stage. We said it a few weeks ago. It was shocking that we're already a third of the way through, but the stage continues to be set. We've got a long ways to go, but again, it's going to go fast. It's going to go really, really fast because after Pittsburgh on Valentine's Day, we are halfway home. Until then, February 6th and 7th, 3 rounds in Salt Lake City. That is your next PBR UTB event. We will recap that as always, and stay tuned for more on our YouTube channel throughout the week. We have No Huddle Rodeo covering all things PRCA as we are barreling toward the end of the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. So whether it's PBR or PRCA, we've got it all for you. Stay tuned the rest of this week, the rest of this winter, the rest of the spring, the rest of this season for all things Western sports here on US Cowboy. We'll see you next week for Salt Lake City and tomorrow for No Huddle Rodeo. Like, comment, subscribe, help us spread the word. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you later on.